Welcome to the Renovation Roadmap Podcast, your ultimate guide to navigating the world of renovations and home improvements. I'm your host, Jen Orr, and I am thrilled to be your companion on your renovation journey. Renovations are like embarking on a thrilling adventure, but let's face it, they can also feel like a roller coaster of challenges. We're here to equip you with the essential tools and knowledge you need to survive your next remodel. I'm not just your host, I'm also the owner and principal designer of Studio Red Interior Design and Remodel. With years of experience as both a general contractor and designer, I have accumulated some insights and strategies for ensuring your project stays on track and on budget. Think of this podcast as your go-to resource for valuable tips, expert advice, and inspiring stories that will empower you as you embark on your renovation. Together, we'll navigate the ups and downs of renovation and emerge with homes that truly reflect our dreams and aspirations. So let's dive in. Okay, today I want to talk about contractors. We've talked a little bit about interior design and how that relates to a renovation project and what a designer's role is within a renovation project. We've talked about expectations and how to set expectations with your contractors. Today, I want to get into contractors. And in the next few episodes, we are going to meet with a couple of contractors and talk about the way that their businesses are set up. And we will continue to talk to different contractors throughout the show. And the reason for that is contractors come in all shapes and sizes. And I don't mean just physically. Okay, yes, physically they come in all shapes and sizes. However, the business structure of contractors come in all different shapes and sizes. When you say general contractor, that can mean a lot of different things. And I want to explore that a little bit with you. So there's one thing that should be and that all contractors should be, and that is licensed, bonded, and insured. Right? So when you see that CCB number and licensed, bonded, and insured, that means you can look them up on the CCB website. You can see that they are a legit licensed contractor, and that is very good. There are contractors out there that do operate without a license. So make sure that your contractor is licensed. And there are contractors out there who operate without being bonded and insured, and they let that lapse. And really, what that means to you is protection. And you want that protection as a homeowner. And now, just because they have taken the test, you take a test to get your CCB license. And just because you take the test and you're bonded, licensed, and insured, that doesn't mean that you know anything about construction. I know this because I took the test. Okay? So the test is about the law, and it's about protection for you as the homeowner. And that's really all that it is. It doesn't mean that you know anything more about drywall. It doesn't mean that you know how to frame a wall. It has nothing to do with the actual labor of construction. So I want to make sure that everybody understands that, if you don't already, that having your general contractor's license doesn't actually mean that you know how to do any of the work. And I'm a perfect example of that, right? Because I have my general contractor's license. That doesn't mean that I can come and frame your wall or hang your drywall, although I have hung drywall. But it doesn't mean that I am a professional contractor in the field. What it means is I know the laws, I know how to protect the homeowner, I know the things that need to take place, I know how to bid out projects, I know things about running a renovation project. Doesn't mean I actually know how to do all of the work, okay? So I just want to make sure that everybody knows that. So let's talk about different types of contractors because, like I said, they come in all different shapes and sizes and they operate differently. And I often hear people talk about getting bids from contractors and expressing that those bids are all across the board, right? So one contractor bid them 20K and another contractor bid them 75 for the exact same project. And when that happens, sometimes people feel like they're being price gouged or taken advantage of. And there's contractors out there who are just charging way too much. And I could do this myself for way less. Yes, all of that is true. There are contractors out there that probably are charging more than they should be charging. You also can do it yourself for less. Right? That is also true. But that isn't always the reason why there's different price ranges when you get an estimate from a contractor. So why is that? What is it that makes up different contractors? And why is it that their prices can be so vastly different for the same project? Okay, so let's start at the base level of the type of contractor that is a one-man show. So he's it. He is the jack of all trades. He knows how to do everything, and he's going to do everything on your project. He is a one-man show. He's the one that's going to answer the phone. He's the one that's going to send you the proposal and the invoice. He's the one that's going to purchase all the materials. He's the one that's going to come to the house and demo your kitchen and then install the kitchen cabinets and the hardware. He is the one-man show. Now, oftentimes, the one-man show, their bids come in less expensive. And part of the reason for that is they don't have a staff. They don't have people in the office answering the phone. They don't have a project manager that manages the project. They don't have a purchaser that is purchasing the materials. They are the only one, and they're wearing all of the hats. And so they don't have the overhead that a larger construction company has. So oftentimes you can get a project done for a lot less when you are hiring someone that takes care of every component of the project. Now, with that, there are also some downfalls, right? There's pros and cons to each type of contractor. So let's talk about what that actually translates to in some other areas. So great, their pricing is less. However, they don't have that person in the office. So it might be real hard to get a hold of this contractor. They might not be very responsive. They might not get back to you. They might not ever check their email. They might take weeks to get an estimate to you. And those are some of the things because they are the only ones doing it. And they are also in the field trying to do the work. So that affects the entire project. Okay. Something else to consider. When using a one-man show, the timeline of the project might take a little longer. Again, they are doing every aspect of the project themselves. And as one person, they can only do so many things. There's only so many hours in the day to accomplish. And to accomplish the tasks at hand, which some of those things are office duties, are ordering, are organizing, right? And so the timeline of your project might look very different using a one-man contractor than using a larger company that has a lot of staff. So a one-man show might come in less expensive for the labor. However, you might have a hard time communicating with them or getting a hold of them or getting a response from them. They might take a little bit longer on your project. And those are some things that you need to consider. Okay. Then next step up is you might have a contractor that has a small crew. So there's a few guys, right? So they're not the only one. They have a few other guys that work with them, and maybe it's an assistant, right? He's going and cutting things and then bringing them back and making it so that the job runs a little bit quicker because there's help there. It might look like this person has somebody in the office that does answer the phone, that gets the emails taken care of, that sends the proposals out, that handles more of the administrative tasks so that that person can be in the field. So there might be a little bit more organization. The bids are still going to come in a little less because there still is not the amount of overhead that there is for a larger company. It might run a little faster though, because there's more help, there's more hands involved. So that would be your next step up of maybe a small crew. It's a small company with a small crew. Now, with these smaller crews and the one-man show, they don't always have a lot of systems in place. They don't have maybe a lot of the business details dialed in because they are in the field. They are working in the field. They are trying to get your project done. And so when it comes to the more administrative systems, they might not have all those dialed in. Now, I just want to throw in this caveat right here. This is not the case for all of these types of contractors. Okay, I hope you know that. This is a generalization. I am generalizing here just to give you an idea of what this looks like with different contractors, but that doesn't mean that there isn't a one-man show that is super responsive, that answers his phone or his or her phone all the time, and they've got their email to you and their bid to you within 24 hours, right? There are going to be exceptions to these. So let me just throw that out there. Okay. But in these smaller crews and these one-man shows, they might not have that back-end system developed. They might not be as proactive in communication and planning ahead of time. They might not have a dialed-in schedule. They might come and go. And when it gets done, it gets done. They might not have a clear defined start date and end date. It might be a broad, we think we can get this done in 3 months, but at the end of the day, it's whenever we get it done, right? So that's that level of contractor. Now we move into a smaller construction company. And a smaller construction company is going to most likely have a project manager. They're going to have office staff, whether that be somebody who's answering the phone or doing administrative duties. They are going to have probably a few guys in the field, and the guys in the field, they're only responsible for the things in the field. So they aren't doing admin work. They aren't doing making phone calls with the client or setting things up, schedules up and such. They are simply focusing on and working in the field. They have a small staff, right? So again, with these companies, you are most likely going to pay a little bit less. You're probably going to pay more than the one-man show. However, your project is probably going to get done a little faster. It's going to be a little bit more organized. There might be more meetings with you as the homeowner, setting out a plan, giving you a project schedule that's very detailed and organized, because they have the support, the office staff, the project manager that is going to help keep the project organized and help in communication with you as the homeowner. So you're going to probably receive a lot more communication from that company, and they're probably going to be a little more proactive about things because they have the capacity to do so. And you are paying a little bit more for that higher level of service and for having things a little more organized. They might have systems, procedures in place where this is how we do it every time. And so you're paying a little bit more for that. There might be still some involvement from you as the homeowner within the project. And that is what is going to save you a little bit more money, using maybe a smaller company. Okay, so after a smaller construction company, obviously we have a larger construction company. So this is like the full blown company that does everything in-house. Oh, and let me mention too, with the smaller construction company, most likely they're using one or two in-house guys, maybe just one in-house guy that's doing demo, finish work, and the rest they're maybe subbing out. So they're going to use subs for electrical, plumbing. They might have a sub come in that just does drywall, a painter that just does painting, and they're going to utilize those subcontractors to complete the project. And they're going to have the project manager that is organizing those subcontractors to complete that project. And the smaller one-man shows or small crew, right? They're doing more of the work themselves. And in the smaller construction companies, they probably are going to be using more subcontractors that are very niche down and specialized in what it is that they do. That the drywallers, they only do drywall day in and day out, and they're quick, they're efficient, their crew comes in, they hammer it out, and they get out. So that's typically what you'll see more in a smaller construction company. And the larger construction company, you are going to see that they might have more built out in-house crews. They might have their own drywall team that comes in and does that aspect of the project. They might have their own in-house electrician, their own in-house plumber. They're more built out where they have a lot of employees, and those employees do different aspects of the project, and they're all working for and under this construction company. Now, the pro with that is they have a lot more control. The company has control over their employees, when they show up, what project site they're on, how they're accomplishing different tasks. They have a lot more control over when and where people are in the project. They probably have multiple project managers. So they have a lot of projects going on at once, but they have designated project managers that are in charge of certain projects, making sure that that project is running smoothly and making sure that it is staying on time and on budget. That is the role of the project manager, and they are going to have that role dialed in, where that project manager is taking care of you and taking care of the project and making sure things are running smoothly. These larger construction companies are going to have a lot more systems in place because they have owners and CEOs and CFOs and people who are building out these systems and processes to make sure that the work and that the company is running as smooth as possible. So they're going to have standard operating procedures where they have things dialed in and laid out in order to make your project run smoother. You might have more meetings with them. They're probably going to have things like they're always make sure there's a porta potty on site for the guys to use so that they're not using your other bathroom. They are going to have a higher level of involvement in your project and proactiveness in your project, and have things dialed in to make the project run as smooth as it possibly can. Again, caveat, just because you hire a large construction company does not necessarily mean that this is the case. And when you're looking into construction companies, you want to make sure to be asking questions in order to discover these things, right? Looking at reviews, even asking them for referrals that they can call, people that they've worked on their project, and asking them these questions because you want to see if this is the case and if this is how their company operates. So then you also have a design build firm construction company, where they have all the components typically of a larger construction company. And then they also, in addition to, have in-house designers. So they have designers that are employed by them that take care of that piece for you. They are going to design your entire project, and then they are going to implement the construction all under one roof, all in one house. Again, higher cost because there's design involved, higher cost because they are collaborating and working together on from start to finish with your entire project. And with these companies, there is going to be a lot less involvement from you as the homeowner. You are most likely going to be able to hand your project off to these companies, and they are going to be able to manage it, design it, and do everything from start to finish. And you can sit back and relax. That is the goal with a design build. Now, you also can see design build companies that are smaller mom and pop design build companies. A lot of times I see husband and wives where the husband takes care of the construction and the wife is the designer, and they are a team and they work together to complete your project. And they might work with subcontractors, or they might have an in-house guy, or the contractor might be a one-man show where he does everything and his wife designs it. So you can also find different levels of design build and different sizes within that category as well. So there's a lot of different levels to that as well. Now, you can also find that there are different contractors who specialize in different things. And you will find contractors who they only do remodels. That is their thing. They do remodels all day, every day. Or you might find contractors that only do kitchens and baths. They don't do full home renovations. They specialize, or maybe they just specialize in kitchens, or they just specialize in bathrooms. And you might find construction companies that only do custom builds. They're building your home from the ground up, and that is all they do. And it's custom. It's not a subdivision. It's not a stock build home, right? It is custom. What do you want? And they work with their own architects, or they have architecture and structural engineering in-house, and they are building you a custom home. Then you have construction companies that only do new construction, right? They're only doing subdivisions, and that is the work that they do. Or they only do commercial. You will also find contractors that specialize in certain areas of the home. Contractors that specialize in exterior work. They're only going to do your siding, your deck, gutters and roofs, and anything that involves the exterior of your home. Or painters and drywallers. All they do is painting and drywall, and that is the type of contractor they are. Now, you can hire out these contractors individually for these projects, and general contractors will hire out these specialties as subcontractors underneath their company. So you might hire a general contractor and a paint crew comes in that has a different company logo. And you're like, wait a minute, I thought I hired X, Y, and Z general contractor. Why is this other company coming in to pay my house? They are a subcontractor of your general contractor. And general contractors oftentimes have multiple subcontractors that they use. They use multiple different painting companies, framing companies, and they have resources that they pull from with relationships that they built with these other contractors, and they use them for their job. So you get into contractors, obviously electricians, plumbers, that is all they do. And that is a specific contractor. And you have subcontractors within that. And so it gets very complicated, right? There are so many different contractors. And when you throw the word out contractor, that can mean so many different things, And depending how you work your project and who you hire and how you hire them, it affects the price. It affects the price point. And so oftentimes when I hear people say, well, I had this person come in and bid it at this, and this person come in and bid it at this, and this is just ridiculous. Why are the prices all over the place? There is a reason. There's a reason why prices are all over the place, because you are looking at a different type of contractor, and the services that they offer are different than other companies. So when you're looking at hiring a contractor, you want to get a good understanding of the type of contractor that they are. And you want to decide for yourself what kind of contractor most resonates with you, right? So are you looking to find a one-man show that you can pay less? You're willing for the job to take longer, for them to maybe be a little less organized. Maybe it's a little harder to manage or get a hold of them. And maybe you're not quite sure when they're going to be at the job site, but you're willing to work through all of that with them because you want to pay less for the project. You have to decide for yourself what your priorities are within your project in order to decide what kind of contractor you want to hire. And it's so important to understand that there are different types of contractors. And within contractors too, their pricing ranges vary also, right? Their markup varies. Some contractors only charge 10% markup. Other contractors charge 50% markup. And really, they're basing that markup considering their overhead costs. And pricing is also going to be different depending on the scope of work, the complexity of your project, and how involved they are in their project. Are they ordering a porta potty? That is going to contribute to the price of your project. Does this contractor bring in a cleaning crew at the very end, a professional crew to clean your home, to replace your air filters, to do an HVAC system so that the dust from the drywall doesn't ruin your heating system? There are so many levels of involvement that contribute to the estimate. And you want to make sure that when you're getting estimates from contractors, that you are really comparing these estimates to what their scope of work is and the level of work that they are offering and the level of service that they are offering you, and understanding that one might be asking more money from you, but they're also providing more for you. And that's what you have to weigh. You have to look at what it is that they're providing and see if that fits with what you are looking for in a contractor. Okay. So, at the end of the day, contractors really, they're responsible for getting in, doing the work, and getting out. And I just want to talk a little bit about what contractors aren't responsible for. And oftentimes we don't know that as the homeowner, or know to think about that as the homeowner. And so some of those things that contractors are not is they are not designers. They really aren't. Now, you will find some contractors that will try to help with design or help homeowners make decisions, uh, but that's not their forte. Their forte is coming in, doing the work, and getting out. And really, they're looking to you as the homeowner to give them direction. They don't care what tile you pick. They don't care which direction that you want it laid. At the end of the day, they want you to give them the information so that they can do their job. And they don't always want to hold your hand through the process. And that's okay, because as a contractor, that's not actually really their job. Now, if they're a design build company, then yes, that is a part of it. However, you're still working with a different person. You are working with a designer. The person who is helping you with the design is not the person who's going to come install your cabinets. They're different people. And acknowledging that and realizing that is going to be really important for you to know that either A, you as the homeowner are going to come up with that design and get all that information to the contractor, or you're going to hire someone to help you. You're going to hire someone to help you come up with the design plan, or go with a design build firm that is going to help you navigate the design. And in renovations, I will tell you this, and I covered this a little bit in Why Hire a Designer, but there are going to be a lot more decisions that you need to make that you don't realize you need to make if you've never done a renovation before. And the quick and easy things, right? Tile. I know I'm going to have to pick out a tile. I know I'm going to have to tell them what kind of cabinets I want and what color I want them. There are the very obvious decisions that you need to make. And then there's some not so obvious decisions that you need to make that you might not realize that those are decisions you need to make until the contractor is in your home doing the work and they start asking you questions. So having that design plan done ahead of time, again, the contractor, they're not going to do it for you. They're not going to do it for you. They want you to tell them what you want so that they can do the work for you. Not the design, but the work. Okay, contractors are also not architects, and they are also not structural engineers. Now, if you're working with a larger company that has that in-house, great. But the people doing the actual work on your home, they are not architects and they are not structural engineers. There are special licenses that come with being qualified to do that work. As a designer, I am not qualified to tell you that you can move a load-bearing wall, because I don't know what needs to take place structurally in order to make that happen. Now, you can move any load-bearing wall. I'll just say that. However, it can get real expensive depending on what needs to take place in order to support whatever that wall is, whatever load it's bearing. And that's where the structural engineer comes in and the architect comes in, because they know the codes. They know what needs to happen in order for that to take place. So don't rely on your contractor. If you have a contractor that's like, oh, we can just take this wall out and do this, just know that they are not architects. They are not structural engineers. And If you want to make sure that it's done right, I highly suggest that you are in communication with those professionals. Okay. So I just want to make sure that there's that understanding there. So contractors, they're going to leave it up to you as the homeowner to make decisions. They like to ask you what they want, what you want while they're doing it. They're not always proactive in having you make those decisions ahead of time. So I was just talking to a gal the other day, and she was telling me about a renovation project she had done on her kitchen. And they were working with a contractor. She didn't hire a designer, work with a designer. And the kitchen's demoed. The contractor asked her to pick out a tile, which she did. But she was telling me how the contractor is there in the home getting ready to install the tile. And he asks her, "What direction do you want this laid? What pattern do you want?" And it's like freak out moment. Oh, shoot. I haven't thought of this, or I don't know. And now she's making a decision under the gun. And this is very typical for contractors, especially down in the one-man show realm, because they're doing their work, and then they're going to ask the questions that they need answers to while they're doing their work. Just know that there's going to be things that you're asked from the contractor that they're looking to you for those answers. And a lot of times that isn't coming until they are doing the actual work. Because the reality of it is they don't have the capacity and the forethought of a project, because they are working in the project and on the project now. And prior to your project, they're working on someone else's project. And if they don't have office staff or designers that are working on the plans for the next project, then they don't have that capacity. They don't have that capacity. So, you want to make sure that you know that going into it when you're hiring a contractor and the type of contractor you're hiring, that they're going to operate differently, and they're going to ask you for information differently and at different times in the project. And so you want to have a clear understanding of that before you're hiring a contractor. So most contractors, unless you're hiring a design build or a large construction company, they're not going to be proactive in giving you a detailed list of all the things that you're going to have to make decisions on prior to construction. So it's just really important that you know who you're hiring, that you know that contractors are not all the same. And this is part of why their prices are not the same. So I hope that was helpful today. We are going to be talking to different types of contractors on the show. I'm going to be interviewing them so you can get an even deeper look into how different construction companies operate, and be thinking of some of those questions that you want to ask of contractors when you're hiring them, to get a good idea of what and how their company specifically operates, to see if that resonates with you. So that's all I have for you today. If you are in the process of hiring a contractor and need some more help with that, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. You can reach me on Instagram at Studio Red Interior Design and send me a message on there. I am more than willing to help. I go more in depth in the renovation roadmap course on how to really vet contractors. If you're interested in learning more about the course, there will be information in the show notes. Otherwise, I will see you guys next week. Thank you so much for joining me today. Hey, if I have left you with more questions than answers about your renovation project, please feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. You can find me at Studio Red Interior Design. If you are looking for step-by-step insight on how to design and manage your own renovation, you can join the Renovation Roadmap course. There is information on that in the show notes. And if you have found this episode helpful, I encourage you to subscribe and share it with others that might find value in it as well. Also, if you haven't already, I would love for you to rate this podcast so more people can benefit from it. I look forward to hearing from you. Until next time.